All right, so day 3, we're talking about solving by graphing. Your notes say we can use graphing to solve quadratic equations by finding the x-intercepts of the graph. An example is solve the quadratic for x. I want you guys to put this equation into your calculators. So we have negative 2x squared plus 4x plus 6. Type that in. Once you type it in, look in your y equals to get the points that match up with negative 3 through positive 3. Write that down and then sketch the graph. Obviously you can't sketch negative 24 and negative 10, so just sketch the ones that you are able to. Do we have those points? What?
I didn't get those points. I put it in this.
And you didn't type it in as it says?
Yeah.
Negative 2x squared. Alright, so I'm going to sketch my graph. Alright, so negative 1, 0, 0, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 8. Is this what your graph looks like? Alright, so what we are doing is I'm looking for zeros. The term zeros also means solutions. So I'm looking for whatever y is 0, that is my actual 0. Okay? I know it's a lot of the same words. What that means is, it says where the graph crosses the x-axis, or where y is 0 are the x-intercepts, which are your solutions. These are all the same words. So x equals negative 1 and x equals 3. Meaning negative 1 and 3, where it crosses the x-axis. Does that make sense? Later today, you will see that all these words are interchangeable. Zero solutions, x-intercepts. They're all the same. All right, number 1. It says, what are the zeros of this function? Well, first, let's type it in. I have x squared plus 6x minus 7. This takes the place of factoring. When we were factoring last unit and making it equal to 0, this is basically the calculator way of doing it. I'm going to get my table. Where is my y 0?
1, negative 7.
So at negative 7, and where else? At positive 1, right? So I'm going to put a dot there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Negative 7, and then positive 1.
But the negative 7 is a y. Should the 0 be in the y?
It is.
It is right here. Oh, you're looking at the other one?
Yeah.
That would be down here, 0, -7. Okay, so I'm looking for wherever my 0 is in the y category. If I want to sketch this graph, let's take a look at the graph really quick. Clearly, it's too wide for my graph, right? We can still just sketch it. I'm just gonna say it doesn't have to be perfect, we're just sketching a graph. The main thing we want to know are my zeros. Zeros, aka solutions, x-intercepts, all of that. So I'm going to do x equals, in brackets, -7 and +1. Do not put them in parentheses. We'll talk about parentheses and brackets later, but it is a very big difference. Does that make sense? Look at the next one. So your y equals, let's type it in, -x minus 3 squared plus 4. I'm going to look and see what it looks like. Sometimes you're able to look at your zeros from the graph, and sometimes it's easier to look at your table. This looks like it's at 1 and 2, 3, 4, 5. Let me double check. Let's look at my table. 1 is correct, and 5 is correct. So I'm going to put a point at +1. And +5. Because I'm not being too particular, I just want you guys to sketch your graph, okay? I want you to sketch your graph. Where do you think our vertex is? Maybe 3, 4? Does that look about right? Oh, it is 3, 4, right? So 1, 2, 3, up 4. 1, 2, 3. Once you have your points, you can go ahead and just sketch your graph. That's what it should look like. Eric, what are my zeros here? Where is it crossing the x-axis?
1 and 4 or 5.
1 and 5.
Is that a 3 over to a 4, I guess?
3, yeah. For number 3, let's type in x squared plus 1. I'm going to look at it. Is it crossing the y-axis at all? Sorry, the x-axis. No, it's not even touching. It's going here and basically like this. Therefore, do I have any real solutions?
No.
I still have 2 solutions, but what kind are they now? They're going to be imaginary. So you can either write no real solutions, or you can write imaginary.
Would you like the I thing?
As long as I know that you know. Any questions on this front page?
One question.
Mm-hmm.
Where the graph is crossing the x-axis or where the y, the 0 are, would the x-intercept solutions can be part of the equation?
Say that again?
Where the graph is crossing the x-axis or where the y is 0.
We're only looking at, okay, go ahead, with the y is 0 in your table.
Are the x-intercept solutions of the equation part?
Mm-hmm.
There's like nothing, barely nothing in here.
Because we wrote down our zeros in there.
Oh, 1.
-1 and 3. Why is my graph getting off? hold on a second. Alright, and we're back. So, what we can do from a parabola is look at our zeros and then get our factors. So, if I have a factor, then I have an equation. What are the zeros of this function? -4, and what else? +2. So the zeros are -4 and +2. In order to find the factors, which gives us our equation, we want to set everything equal, set 0 equal to x. So x equals -4 and x equals +2. We're only looking at our x-intercepts. Then it says move everything to the left side. If I have x equals -4, how do I move that to the left side? Add 4. Once we do that, what's on the right side? Sorry, the left side. No, I can combine those two. It's just x plus 4, right? What's left over on the right side?
0.
0. This is my factor. Let's try the second x-intercept. X equals +2. How do I move it to the right side?
Subtract 2.
The left side. Subtract 2. Subtract 2. So I have x minus 2. Do you see a pattern? Whatever your 0 is, you can just take the opposite to make your factor. So these are your two factors. X plus 4, x minus 2. Let's look at number 1. What are my zeros here?
-2.
-2 and what? And +2. You can write your zeros two ways. If you don't want to write it like that, you can also write it as two separate things. It's the same thing. Okay? So what are my factors here? X plus 2 and x minus 2. All we did was we moved everything to the left side. And those are my factors. Does that make sense? Did you copy that down, Lorena?
Almost in there.
Alright, you guys did the last two. The second one, it looks like I only have one x-intercept, but I know I always have two. So what does that tell me? Starts with the dr. We talked about it like a little bit. What's my 0 for this one? What is it? What's my x-intercept? Just 1. Remember double root? You have to write dr or you have to write it twice. So what are my factors here? Just one factor? You can do it that way, or you can write it twice, as long as you know that Just because it looks like it's only one x-intercept, there's really two. There's always two, at least two. So it is a double root. It's hitting that 1 twice. Lorena, what are my zeros for the last one? What am I crossing?
-2 and +9. -2 and +9.
My zeros? Where am I crossing the x-axis?
Oh,
You're giving me the...
-5 and 1.
So, x is equal to -5 and +1. Edgar, what are my factors?
X plus 1 and x minus 5.
This needs to be opposite.
Oh, plus 5 and minus 1.
Plus 5 and x minus 1. Same thing, we're going to practice zeros of factors. The zeros of the function are 5 and 2. What are my factors? X minus 5, x minus... Are you guys getting this? Alright, the zeros of the function are -3 and 0. What are my factors?
X plus 3 and 0.
Let's move the 0. How do we move it? We subtract, right? Will you ever see a factor that looks like that? It's the same as what? It's the same as just x. Okay? So those are your factors. All good?
Yep.
All right, so I want you guys to, actually let's do this one together. My x-intercept is at 1. It looks like it's just 1, but it's really how many? Okay? So my zeros are x is equal to what? 1, and I can write dr for double root. You can write it like that, or you can write, just like we've been doing, in the brackets. You put it in the brackets, it's understood that it's the x-intercept. So what are my factors here?
X minus 1 squared.
X minus 1 squared, or you can write it twice. For your equation, all you are doing is putting in y equals on your factor. So your equation is y equals x minus 1 squared.
Is there a way to check that, or is it just...
Factoring it, yeah, like if you FOIL it. Okay, let's try the next one. They already gave me my zeros. My zeros are 0 and 5. This is hard to see. Okay, so 0, this is 0, and then 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. I can't sketch my graph yet until I know what my equation is. Once I have my equation, I can graph it and get an idea of where my vertex is. But let's take a look. What are my factors here?
X and x minus 1.
X and x minus 5. Good job. My other class, they wanted to see it better, so for all their zeros, they went on and changed it to x equals 0, x equals 5. That is okay to do. because then they could see their factors better. So what's my equation?
Y equals x squared minus 5x.
X squared? Just x times x minus 5. I mean, if you want to factor it out, which you're perfectly able to do so, you could also do x squared minus 5x. It's the same thing. Okay, your equation, you can FOIL it out or you can leave it in factored form. I will accept either one. All right, number 3. This one looks a little weird. They gave me my factor. How do I go from factor to 0? My x is going to equal what?
0,
Negative 1. So that's for the first one. All I'm doing is making these equal to 0, right? Make them equal to 0 to solve to go from factor to. So if you have some space, I don't have much space, but 2x minus 3 equals 0. We're going from factor to 0. So I add 3. I add 3. I have 2x equals 3. Divide by 2, divide by 2. So x equals 3 over 2. Do we see how I just got that 0 from the factor? Whenever I have a factor and to go to my 0, I'm just making it equal to 0. Or you can take the opposite. So x is equal to 3 over 2. I can go ahead and graph this. Oh wait, did we do our graph in the last one? No, we didn't. Sorry, I had to go back for a second. But I didn't sketch my graph. You don't have to have it perfect. We're going to do x times x minus 5. Let's graph it and see what it looks like. Looks like my vertex is at, it's like 2.5 and 6. So 2.5, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we can just connect. You guys understanding how we're just going to sketch the graph? Okay. If you would like to get actual points, go for it. Use your table, but you don't have to. Okay, so for here, I'm going to go ahead and put my zeros in. So -1, and then 3/2 is 1.5. Right there. What's my equation?
It's x seems to x minus 3.
What is it? Did you just copy your factors over?
X plus x.
If you want to factor that and distribute, go for it. But you don't have to. In your calculator, let's see what this graph looks like. X plus 1, 2x minus 3. It's 0, -3, approximately. Skinny graph. Last one, and then I'm going to turn you loose. Type this into your calculator. Type the y equals negative x squared plus x plus 2. If you would like to factor this by hand as we did last unit, go for it, but you don't have to. So calculate. Negative x squared plus x plus 2. I'm going to look at my table first to see my x-intercepts. One x-intercept is negative 1. Do we see that? The other is positive 2. So x equals negative 1, x equals positive 2. What are my factors here? Anybody? Graph it. What does my graph look like? It's going to be upside down. It's a negative. So alright, I want you guys to do the back page. Alright, so on number 5, what are my x-intercepts? Huh?
Sorry.
X equals negative 3 possible.
My factors?
X minus 3, x plus 2.
My equation.
Y equals x minus 3.
You get all those? Eric, make sure you have these right answers. For number 6, we need to do this one. It's easy to figure out the 5, right? That's just going to be x minus 5. That's what that factor is. For my second, it is x equals negative 1/2, right? You cannot have a factor with a fraction in it. Eric, focus. Stay with me. What I'm going to do is I need to move it to the left side. How do I move negative 1/2 to the left side? Multiply by 2. So that cancels out. So I have 2x is equal to negative 1. How do I move the negative 1 over? Add 1. So what's my factor?
2x plus 1.
2x plus 1. A little trick that I use is not really mathematical, but it always works. If we use the same idea of moving everything to the left side, I could move negative 1/2 and it would be x plus, be careful, Caleb, you're shaking it. X plus 1/2, right? But I can't have a negative, sorry, I can't have a fraction. So I just move whatever's on the bottom there. So that becomes 2x plus 1. You guys see that? Just a little trick. Alright, so now what is my equation? X minus 5 and 2x plus 1. Number 7, what did you guys get for your factors? Sorry, for your zeros. Do the zeros first.
3.
Let's double check. I got x squared minus 8x plus 15.
It's 3 and, positive 3 and 5.
Positive 3 and 5. So what are my factors? X minus 3, x minus 5. You guys know if you don't have a calculator, you can still do all of this. It's just doing it the long way. You can do your AM method here, do your T-chart, and then you get your factors, you get your zeros. Okay? The same thing, it's just the calculator is much faster.
Wait, why are the graphs combined together?
It's just, it copied wrong. I told you to skip the graphs. Alright, so now my equation, sorry, my factor is x plus 6. What is my zero? X equals what?
6, 0, or no.
All I'm doing here is making this equal to 0. I just have 2 of them. So how do I get my 0? How do I solve for x here?
Subtract it.
Okay, so what are my zeros?
Negative 6.
-6. dr, it is a double root. You can either write it twice or you can write dr for double root. What's my equation? X plus 6 squared, that's for root. X plus 6 squared. Or you can write it out twice. Last one. Everybody, my x-intercepts are what? My factors. And my equation. Y equals, right? Any questions on what we just did? Does it make sense? Yes?
Mhm.